In the 19th century, foreign nations had been encroaching into China during their century of humiliation. Britain, France, Russia, Japan, Germany and other nations had established foreign enclaves, concessions and spheres of influence in China. The Chinese didn't welcome the foreigners and modernization and religion that they brought with them. In response, the men from Shandong banded together in 1898 and formed the Righteous and Harmonious Society. They claimed spirit possessions made them invincible and would impress locals by putting on performances and displaying their martial arts skills, for which they earned their nickname, Boxers. Between 100,000 and 300,000 men, who were mainly young and unemployed, would join the Boxers during the uprising. Violence erupted in the late 1890s. Boxers and similar groups attacked churches and missionaries. Shortly afterwards, a small group of Boxers clashed with the Qing dynasty forces. However, in the wake of the battle, the Boxers ordered, support the Qing, destroy the foreigners. 1898 also saw Empress Dowager Cixi seize power after failed modernization policies. In 1900, she issued edicts defending the Boxers with the hope that they would help rid China of foreign influence. The ever-increasing Boxers then started to move from Shandong towards Beijing. In May 1900, European diplomats called for assistance to defend the foreign quarters of the city, but only 400 naval troops from 8 separate nations were able to make it to Beijing. They came from Britain, USA, Japan, Germany, Austria, France, Italy and Russia. As small-scale fighting broke out in the capital between the Boxers and the foreign troops, even more reinforcements were requested. 2,000 troops in total, from the same 8 nations as before, landed in Tianjin and began to make their way to Beijing. However, they had not asked permission to land, which upset the Qing dynasty, who now saw it as an invasion. The Chinese government now finally decided to align themselves with the Boxers and drive the foreigners out. The new alliance of the government and the Boxers were able to defeat the invading troops in battle and force them to retreat. Back in Beijing, on June the 20th, the siege of the legation quarters officially began. The legation quarters were located right next to the Forbidden City, where the Empress Dowager lived. Inside, only around 400 troops protected 400 foreign civilians and 3,000 Chinese Christians. Although the Chinese had tens of thousands of men at their disposal, they first tried to burn the defenders out. Then, their small assaults were fended off. Meanwhile, in the north, 100,000 Russian troops moved into Manchuria. They crushed the Boxers who had been harassing the construction of the Russian railway line in the region, and within a couple months, they occupied all of Manchuria. In Tianjin, 50,000 troops from 8 nations had been building troop numbers for a while, and on July 14th, this major force prepared to move to Beijing to relieve the besieged. The released force made it into Beijing in mid-August and defeated the Chinese in the city, ending the 55-day-long siege. Fighting finished, however, there were numerous atrocities committed after the war. Looting, rape and killings were commonplace. The Empress Dowager had already fled the city, and there was no desire to continue the war. The peace treaty forced the Chinese to pay war reparations and give Western powers even more enclaves and concessions. Russia continued to occupy Manchuria, and this resulted in the outbreak of the Russo-Japanese War a couple years later. For the Chinese, this war was just another war which weakened the dynasty and helped pave the way for the revolution of 1911.